Welcome back, everybody. This is the Giants of Backlog. We are four friends creating YouTube podcasts to force ourselves to play through our backlogs. Spoiler alert, this will be a heavy spoiler podcast. So if you haven't played the games that we're going to talk about, feel free to pause, go back, and play through the games so that you can have an opinion while we're sharing ours as we go. So this week we are doing episode 18, uh, which is Hyperlight Drifter. I'm your host for this week, John. With me, as always, is Paul,
Hey,
Alec,
Hello.
and Jay.
Hello.
So how we usually like to do, or to start these things, is with an opening topic. Uh, this week, I decided that the opening topic I wanted to try to relate to the game, and to do that, I wanted to talk about how games can do exploration correctly, and what the point of allowing the player to explore the world is.
That's a great topic.
Thank you very much.
hmm I can start
Yeah.
unless anyone else is really passionate in igniting it. But yeah, I think that exploration is a huge part of video games in general, and I think that um, if you really break down role-playing games, exploration is one half of the coin, right? Where to make a good game, you need to have the players engaged in both exploration and um, the combat and gameplay mechanics of your game itself, right?
So, I think there's a really fine line though in between exploration and wasting the player's time.
Right. I
And go ahead.
okay. Um, yeah, and I think that some examples for me, just to finish that thought, the first one that pops in my head is like Elden Ring, and that's like GOTY contender for this year, right? And I think because its exploration is what makes it such a great game. Because frankly, I am not a Soulsborne gamer by any means, and I think the majority of people aren't. They kind of like to watch it, but for the most part, I feel like it takes a very special person like Paul to actually enjoy getting their ass kicked over and over and over again until they, learn something. But by adding exploration into that game, you opened up the door for all sorts of players where if they're getting their ass kicked, they can just leave and go explore and do something different where they're not going to get their ass kicked as often, or so on, and then they can come back. So
In
and
in the in the example you shared, right? Your exploration is rewarded, sort of like uh, what's that Zelda game? Breath of the
Breath of the
Wild.
Wild. hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one that's very
yeah,
exploration heavy, right?
So for each of those, there's countless games where you go out of your way, however much time it takes, and then there's nothing there of worthwhile.
hmm Yeah, so
or
what you're saying,
contrasted against like AC Valhalla Gradle, you go out of your way in that game. There's some
yes,
boring fetch quests that you've already done
or it's
50
all
times.
collectibles based, right? Like that entire game. And I sank way too much time into AC Valhalla than I'm willing to admit. And you're absolutely right. That is a time sink for the sake of a time sink. Like picking up these bullshit collectibles don't actually mean anything or don't give you that sense of reward. Whereas beating a boss does, or what? Go ahead, Jay.
Well, that's kind of my point. I don't really have as much time as I used to play games, right? So for me, it has. I enjoy exploration, sure, but there's a point where it becomes too much, or if there's no carrot
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going, then it really, counts against the game for me, because I don't have time to just be like, oh, what's over there? What's over here?
Yeah, exactly.
And I say that after, I get a bunch of, all the achievements in the game, wasting a lot of time searching for shit.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, especially for you playing like a Japanese exploration, Yakuza, Persona, all those games, they do reward you fairly well. I think the type of reward, right, is different in those games, because it's just it's something different, where even a component is rewarding, or the fact that you're grinding some levels is rewarding, or something like that.
It's just got to be worthwhile.
Yeah, what comes to my mind is actually Hellblade.
Hellblade.
And I think it's a really smart design choice when devs design a level and they have something that you have to have decent perception to see, like a branching path that if you rush through you're not going to see, and you feel like, oh, this is something that only I noticed, and like maybe other people didn't see this. Like, it really gives you that feeling that you're discovering something that other people might have missed.
Yeah.
And in Hellblade, there's a few, I think, lore stones where they're off those branching paths that I probably missed because I didn't 100% the game, but you probably found, Jay.
Yeah. And I think God of War Ragnarok takes a similar approach to that, where it has the linearity, but then it kind of Metroidvania once it gets into a little more of an open world. So I think there's a big balance in how open world games versus story-driven narratives do it, right? Because The Last of Us is similar to Hellblade in the fact that all the collectibles are slightly off the beaten path, but it takes you right back to your main path. And so you can have exploration in any sort of game, I guess, is
people
the main
love
takeaway.
feeling like they're uncovering a secret that no one else knows about. And I think Elden Ring, Hellblade, God of War, like those games do that. They give you that experience.
Yeah.
Games like Horizon Forbidden Dawn and AC Valhalla, honestly, they don't. It's just,
you just combine them both
everywhere. It's like, well, I got this marker on the other side of the map. Let me go find that.
Forbidden Dawn.
The
Forbidden Dawn.
Zero Dawn.
Forbidden West. Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to ask you guys, unless anyone else has another point about exploration, but I want to ask that, how many of you have played Skyrim?
That's
Skyrim.
funny, because I was actually going to make a point about Skyrim.
Oh, perfect.
But, yeah, I played Skyrim. I'm sure we probably all have.
I have not.
What?
I have not, because
What?
of what you said, Jay, of the time sink that goes into it. It's like for me, and we have these conversations when we like talk about longer games, right? That's why we don't pick them too frequently. But when there's a like daunting task where I know it's going to take me hundreds and hundreds of hours, it kind of gets me less inclined to jump in there. And so I was 5 years late to the Skyrim party, and I never really got back into it.
You should
it's on
go
my backlog.
Pay $70 for the Legendary Edition on Switch.
I'll just wait until the even bigger game of Starfield comes out, and then that's my intro to the
it's gonna be no comparison.
It could just be much worse Skyrim, but worse in every way.
It's gonna be a worse Fallout, I think. Well, it might be on par with Fallout.
Yeah, I haven't played a Fallout either.
Well, you just lost a lot of gamer points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
in
your
my
gamer
book.
card.
Yeah, you want my gamer card?
You haven't played Elder Scrolls 5 Oblivion either, right?
4.
Or was that 4?
That's 4. I think 5 is Skyrim.
So
No, I haven't played a Elder Scrolls game or a Fallout game all the way through. I've given it my 10 hour mark, and then I'm like, It's too slow.
Have you played The Witcher?
I have played The Witcher.
It's a different flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Skyrim's less, all the crazy quests than The Witcher is.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know,
thought that
Paul,
it's
what do you think? You've played both, right?
Yeah, I think The Witcher, for the most part, has better written quests. I think Skyrim has quests that are more fun from a gameplay perspective, and that's kind of my divide between the two. They get compared to each other all the time, right? I'd say
what
that's
makes
my
them
take.
more fun.
You have actual mechanics.
Yeah,
Rather than just
Yeah, I mean, you
Geralt.
level up your bow skill tree and you can slow down time and,
Okay.
zoom in. You level up your uh, destruction spells to do more damage or different stuff, or you can summon shit. Like, it, Skyrim, the Elder Scroll games have always done the power fantasy really well, I think, because you can just become a badass leader of all the different groups
yeah.
and
Stealth archer.
Yeah, so
That's-
leveling up is rewarding more in those games than most others.
yeah, and it's more fun to, sneak around and headshot everything in a dungeon or place a bucket on somebody's head and then steal everything in their house. You can't do that shit in in Witcher.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm
Yeah, I agree
playing
with
a
that.
D&D campaign now, so that brings exploration to a whole new level in my eyes. And especially on the dungeon master side of having to kind of create this world for everyone involved.
You brought up the topic and you barely said anything. I want to know your thoughts on.
Yeah, what constitutes exploration then?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, good point. So for me, I think let me just flip my notes over real quick. I guess my main question is, what's the point of being allowed to explore in a video game, right? If the creator of the world wants you to experience it in the way they want you to experience it, then why give you freedom to travel or to run around however you want to? And my thinking is there's two main reasons. There's to extend playtime, which is the bad way that we've talked about,
Mm-hmm.
uh, adding collectibles, purposely making it, well, not purposely, but like how I had experience in Batman Arkham Asylum, where I just got lost all the time. Um, that kind of thing, right? Where you just run around basically to extend playtime. Or they can create like optional features in the game where you can build on the story, add additional content, add meaningful collectibles, stuff like that. But I think in order to do that, they really need to pack the world with things to find and things to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the correct way, at least in my opinion, to make exploration worthwhile. Because for me, I don't play many very long games anymore. Uh, I don't have the interest in spending 100 hours on a single game, for the most part.
What are you
Um,
talking about? You play New World and RuneScape and
yeah, it's not a story game though. That's me getting stronger so I can beat other people. I'll play multiplayer games for 10,000 hours,
mm-hmm.
but story-driven games, if I have to put more than 16 hours into it, it's gonna be a struggle. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I think, and I've never really understood it in the industry. There seems to be always this big push for making games longer, and I don't know how that's beneficial to developers. Where maybe just the longer somebody's playing it, the longer people are talking about it, and the longer other people can see through Xbox or Steam or Discord or whatever they're looking at that people are playing it. But in my mind, once somebody's made the purchase, you've already won.
Right.
I don't know why there's a push to, put in a bunch of filler shit.
Yeah,
and
cram
then,
more content down people's throats, right?
John, to you.
But it's not even content. It's
Yeah.
just garbage.
And
There's
Paul,
a metric. There's a
Paul,
metric of hours per dollar. People talk about it all the
Yeah,
time.
but people who talk about that are stupid.
well,
Like-
yeah,
Fair.
I hear that all the time. You can pay $20 to go see a movie, or you can pay $60 for 400 hours of video game.
Yeah, but it's all going to be the same. A 10-hour game is going to be the same as a 600-hour game. I mean, it's still going to be the $60 price point. It's depending on what you
70.
want for it.
The
Yeah, now
value
it's 70.
proposition is a sticky issue.
Yes,
Because
but I agree.
it's different to everybody, and it just, if it's worthwhile, whether it's a 10-hour, 5-hour, 1 hour, 100 hours, is up to the individual as if it was worth their money or not.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, Hellblade is a shorter game, right? But I think that package is perfectly packaged for what it is, and is
Right,
well worth.
and
And that was
speaking
only at a
of-
$40 price point, right? I mean, it depends on what they're feeling.
Speaking of Hellblade, the exploration and collectibles, I like how it was optional and it gave more lore to the world, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
that,
Yes, making
and
collectibles meaningful
Yep.
is important, and that's what was missing in AC Valhalla. Is they had 20 different types of collectibles, and none of them meant anything to me. It's like, okay, I got this relic.
You could say
Yes.
the same
Yeah.
thing about all of Odin's Ravens and God of War 2018. I just got
Yeah.
that trophy like last weekend, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, there's no. I'm not doing this for any other reason than to get the plat.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a fair thing to say, too, is like some people enjoy collecting things, right?
Yes.
So putting a random collectible that's has no purpose other than just collecting it is fine.
Look at Doom. What we played.
Yeah, because it's fine because it gives something for those people who just like collecting stuff.
Mhm.
Now, for you psychopaths who like platting everything, it makes it much more difficult for
Wow.
you. But
Only one to two of us like plating things, Mr. Cheap Boss, and
yeah. And then John, your other point was, if the developer is tailoring this experience to you, why wouldn't they make it a linear experience to more direct you
Mhm.
on your way? And they're still tailoring the experience. It's just allowing the freedom of choice in what the player wants to do. Like in the game we're about to talk about, right? You could go any direction. And I don't know if it was a benefit or a detriment, but in other games, I like the freedom of choice. Like Skyrim, for example, I don't want to do the main quest. I'm gonna go become the leader of the Thieves Guild.
Right.
I don't want to do the main quest. I'm gonna go fight in the arena for Oblivion, right? And that kind of freedom I enjoy. But as you said, it's a double-edged sword, because if you don't have a clear path, you can sometimes get lost and frustrated, and it takes away from the enjoyment.
I never beat Skyrim. I put 500 hours in the side quest and never beat the main quest.
Well,
See, it's
you
not
didn't
the only
miss
one.
You didn't miss a whole lot. The side stuff is really where that game shined, in my opinion.
Hey,
Yeah,
I got a
and
question.
that's something that's a testament to that game, right? Is when you're enjoying exploration for the sake of exploration in the world that it was created for you.
Yeah.
Can I
Go ahead,
spoil
Paul.
something for Skyrim?
I mean, I
Warning,
guess.
warnings.
Yeah, you're
It's-
gonna spoiler warning for
it's,
I have a
Skyrim.
question for.
when did Skyrim come out?
10,
20
20 years
years
ago. 20 years
It's
ago.
a 20-year-old game.
No.
Spoil
No,
away.
it's not.
Like
John,
I think it came out 2013. Maybe it's 10
Checking
years
now.
ago.
2011.
2011. 2011.
12.
10, 11
Yeah.
years ago.
All right, Jay. This is probably only a question for you if John didn't beat the main quest. Did you kill Parthenox?
No, he's my boy.
Okay, yeah, me neither. I couldn't do it. I couldn't even think about killing Parthenox. But I looked up what
Parthenox?
happens if you do, and you can get a bunch of cool blade shit.
Yeah.
And then what's her name will follow you as a companion, I think too.
What's her name?
I liked going back up to that mountain and talking to him every
Yeah.
once in a while.
Me too. But okay, that's funny. So we're the same on that
Just
one.
boot the game up and go talk to him every once in a while. What's up, Parthenox? You still my boy?
Yeah.
I haven't been around for another 100 hours, but
Anyway, sorry. Tangent. I had to know.
So
this podcast is nothing but tangents.
yeah, typically.
I was actually looking at my notes, and I have one more thing to say on exploration from 3-4 episodes ago with the Shadow of the Colossus, where they give you this open world with like nothing in it except maybe a few fruit trees and lizard shrines. Like it's simple in terms of like open world, right? And that's one of the first ones that I remember doing it. But they didn't have all this filler in their open world, and it worked just fine.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point because that was one of the first games to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a pioneer of the open world, and we've seen how open world has improved and gotten worse by adding, good content
Yeah.
in the corners and bad content in the corners. 'Cause I think that was one of our big complaints in that episode.
Yes.
Was that we're just riding our horse for 10 minutes straight and there's nothing there. Would it be better with meaningless collectibles? I don't know.
No, it'd be better with side quests and people that say I was a great Colossus Slayer, but then I took an arrow to the knee.
There you go. With meaningful content.
Meaningful
That's what you need.
content.
All right. So, after opening, we get into hot takes, but I'm going to take this moment before we do to plug our Patreon and socials. Paul, what is our Patreon and socials?
We're the Giants of Backlog on Patreon. And you can email us at giantsofbacklog@gmail.com. You can find us on all social media platforms at Giants of Backlog. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of the above if you're on social media.
Thanks, Paul. Links to all those socials will be in the description below. So, hot takes. I'll get us started, and piggybacking off of the opening topic, and funny enough, Skyrim. I will say that Hyperlight Drifter is the most fun I've had exploring since Skyrim.
Wow.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Really enjoyed the exploration in this game. As you know, I don't really do long games much anymore. And when I do, I kind of mainline them. So, but I felt like the secret areas, the hidden items, all of that was fair and interesting enough that I just enjoyed looking for it. So, which, something that surprised me because usually I don't like games that allow you to get off the beaten path. I like games where I know what I have to do the entire time. But for me, I don't know, this did it for me.
My hot take.
Mhm.
Yes, my hot take is this game is hard.
We said hot
I-
takes.
That's my hot take.
I'm
This
just
game is
kidding.
fucking hard,
This game is hard.
and I need to be in the right headspace to like play games like this, where your progress is tracked through trial and error exclusively. That's my hot take.
I can go next. My hot take is the hardest enemy in this game is the map.
Yeah, the map sucks. I have no idea what's going on.
Yep, you said it for me. It's so hard to navigate in this game using the map.
Yeah.
I would just walk through corridors and remember which way I had already gone and try new ways because I just couldn't read the map. But pretty minor, I guess, in the grand scheme of things.
In the first area, I hated this game because I had to go through areas like 3 times. Couldn't remember if I'd been there before or not. So I quickly learned complete areas in one sitting, or else you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. I also had a similar feeling as the first couple hours I played this game.
Luckily, it's not that long of a game, but yeah, I definitely feel like coming back to it. You gotta reacclimate yourself with the areas.
Well, the other thing too, at the end of the game, I wanted to find the last few keys in an area, and I'd look at the map and try to figure out where I'd already been, and I just had no idea, and I just ended up giving up. Rather than
I
go
didn't.
back
Yeah, I
and
didn't
try to
get
figure it out.
Yeah.
Jay, your
So
hot take?
if the map is easy to use in this game and you think we're stupid, leave a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hot take is this game is easy.
Oh.
Oh, damn!
One of these-
I've
Just
got,
being a contrarian.
well, I've got evidence to back it up. There's an achievement called "You Can Do It." Don't give up. Well, it's called "Don't Give Up," and the text is "You can do it." And you get it by dying 1,000 times.
Oh my god,
And only 0.2% of people have gotten this achievement.
that's
So,
you're right.
1,000
Easy-
times is
easy
a
game.
ridiculous amount of times.
That is
Well-
a ridiculous amount of time.
I got this achievement by putting my controller face down on the couch with a rubber band tied around its thing so it ran off the edge while I went to bed.
Nice.
I love the rubber band technique for those exact types of achievements. I will say that. I am no foreigner to the get your step walker in. Like,
Had to steal a rubber band from work. And
oh well, at least it was
So-
just a rubber band and not a webcam, right?
so, in my estimation, if you don't die at least 1,000 times in a game, then it's easy.
How many times you die in Elden Ring, Paul?
It doesn't keep track a lot.
It
though.
doesn't give you the stat.
I don't think so.
Oh, over or under 1,000? You played it too, right, Cordelia?
Mhm.
How many over or under 1,000?
Easily under 1,000.
Yeah, probably.
And-
under.
Easy game.
Easy game. Yeah.
Yeah, I was being a little sarcastic with that hot take.
I know. All right, so let's introduce the audience to our game, which is Hyperlight Drifter. The summary from the Steam page says the following. Echoes of a dark and violent past resonate throughout a savage land, steeped in treasure and blood. Hyperlight Drifter is an action-adventure RPG in the vein of the best 16-bit classics, with modernized mechanics and designs on a much grander scale. Drifters of this world are the collectors of forgotten knowledge, lost technologies, and broken histories. Our drifter is haunted by an insatiable illness, traveling further into the lands of buried time, hoping to discover a way to quiet the vicious disease. So, if you have no idea what that means, that's about all you're going to get, even after playing the game.
I'm gonna stop you there because
yeah.
I never read that description and I just learned more about the game in 9 hours of playing.
Yeah.
I know.
So the story in this game, well, let me touch on the development real quick, some more info. So the key developer of this game is Alex Preston. He was born with congenital heart disease, and he aimed to create a game that not only combined the best parts of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Diablo, but was personally, personal to him.
Hmm.
So what this meant was featuring a character who suffered from a terminal illness similar to his own. So that's what that
That's sad.
Yeah, it's
that vicious disease that afflicts our character for the full game. That is that motivation. So I haven't played either of those games, Zelda: A Link to the Past or Diablo. Um, I guess one of the questions when I was reading this that I had for you guys was, could you tell the similarities or the influences that came from those games? Like, and what exactly are they talking about when those are the games that they say influenced it?
yeah. I mean, my first instinct was that this was inspired by Zelda, not necessarily A Link to the Past. But now that it's mentioned, I haven't played that one, but I think of the original Legend of Zelda, right, where you're going four directional map exploration and like going into different rooms and whatever, like that era of games where a lot of them did that type of game style. So I think that it does a good job of sending me back to the past, because that was a whole era of video games early on, and when video games were just getting started.
Around when was that?
The original Legend of Zelda on the NES. Let me see.
1988.
It's a good guess. 1986.
Oh.
Wow,
Was that? Wait,
nice.
when was the release in North America?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
Paul might have been playing it in '88.
yeah. When he wasn't alive. Yep. Am I?
Yeah.
You don't have to look that up. I just know there's often delays.
Yes,
and stuff
between
about
Japanese.
Japan and rest of the world.
Let's see first.
I don't know. I've never played a Zelda game or Diablo, so couldn't say, John.
Yeah,
Okay,
me neither.
87.
Oh, okay.
So yes.
Me neither. I've seen some of them though, and you can tell. Some of the Zelda games, you can tell. Basically, a lot of games have been inspired by Zelda.
Yes.
And then Diablo. Um, John, we played a game similar to Diablo not long ago, Path of Exile, and I don't really see that influence
I was
too
going to say
much
the
in this
same
game.
thing. There's not really looting in this game. I don't really understand the Diablo influence other than it's a top-down isometric.
Oh, it's top down. I see it now.
Mm-hmm. That must be why. But yeah, no, it doesn't really have that Diablo feel of progression. I mean, half of what Diablo was written for, right, was literally like looting.
Yeah, yeah. I can see how that doesn't really fit the feel of this game. Anyway, uh, one more fun fact: 2013, the Hyperlight Drifter Kickstarter was created with a goal of $27,000 and far surpassed that by raising over $100,000 in the first day.
Wow.
So, a couple fun facts for
Well,
you.
it's great to see a
So-
game like this get made.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how Kickstarter's making so many more games possible that wouldn't have been previously.
So, Hyperlight Drifter was released on PC in 2016 and PC and PS4 in 2016, Nintendo Switch in 2018, and iOS in 2019. uh, to mass critical acclaim. Accolades for Hyper Light Drifter include. Pick out the best ones of these. I don't know. Maybe I should share my screen because I don't know these game shows like you, or these gaming shows like you guys do. So I don't know what's good.
While you're bringing that up, we've played a lot of Kickstarter games on this very show, right?
Which ones?
Ukulele was a Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
Pillars of Eternity, which we're currently playing, was a Kickstarter game, which was crazy to me that Obsidian did Kickstarter to fund a game.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
I'm not sure. I'm sure there was at least one other Kickstarter game, but maybe in the comments they can let us know.
I think Kickstarter's
Well,
great
John,
way
you
to
know
get
the
a
Game
game
Awards.
funded.
So, at the Independent Games Festival, they won Excellence in Visual Arts and
Nominated, not won.
no, they
Down
won.
below, there's 2.
They won?
That's what the result
This
was.
Wikipedia page is weird.
Oh, it's a bad page.
Yeah,
It's a
they
different
won.
festival.
Yes.
That one is.
Yeah, not the
2016.
Independent Games Festival 2016, the Independent Games Festival.
That was in 2016.
Yes.
Yeah, they won Excellence in Visual Art and the Audience Award, which is great to hear. And then Apple Incorporated Awards, which I
Ooh.
guess is a thing. iPad Game of the Year in 2019.
Wow.
I didn't
I bet
know
you
that
this
this
plays
was
decent on iPad.
I didn't know this was an iPad game.
Yeah. Well,
I know, I have
it
an
was in
iPad.
2019,
I
apparently.
can see this running on phones. This game's like 600 megabytes.
Okay,
They
anyway.
were nominated for a bunch of stuff at a bunch of awards.
Yeah, they were nominated for a couple awards for Game Awards.
Yeah, nominated for Best Indie Game and Best Action Adventure Game, 2016 Game Awards.
Yeah, so
So the game did pretty well.
critically one of the better games to come out in 2016 based on this list.
I forget. I looked it up earlier what won Best Indie Game of 2016, but now I don't remember. So
You know, who does? Google.
we'll move on. Oh, my friend Google.
I don't know what won, but 2016 was actually a pretty big year. You had Salt and Sacrifice, Stardew Valley, Inside, Witness, Firewatch, Darkest Dungeon.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
freaking
Competition.
slaughter fest. Yeah, Crypt of the Necrodancer, super hot. Yeah,
Holy
this game
shit.
this game didn't really stand much of a chance, unfortunate for itself.
Well, I think it's an accomplishment to get nominated in a year.
Yeah,
where all those
absolutely.
games came out.
Yeah, and those are some of the heavy hitters, right? I mean, you look at Stardew.
Yeah, super hot.
So yeah, I don't know what won that Game Awards specifically. I didn't look it up. I just was looking at the indie games in 2016, and yeah, there were a good amount of contenders.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's get into some of the details of the game. I think what we usually start with is art style, music. In this game, it's got a unique storytelling style, so I think we'll get into that as well. But let's starting with art and music. What are you guys' opinions of how Hyper Light Drifter creates this world for you?
I love the music in this game.
Mhm.
It was incredible. Set the tone, the vibe for the whole game. And it wouldn't be the same without the music, obviously. But the visuals, it's not really my cup of tea, this pixelated style, but I know a lot of people love it.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. That I don't prefer pixel games, like especially because you can just clean it up a little easier, and it would have it would have affected the art style, but I mean, maybe in a positive direction. Uh, but music was great. I like the 16-bit audio or whatever it is. It it's fun. It has its tones, and when you compose a epic song, especially when you're doing this type of thing, it definitely fits well with the style
Lot,
of the game. Whoever composed the music for it, and then
lots of
storytelling. I think we mentioned it earlier, right? Where I didn't know what was going on a lot of the time because there's no it's all just no visual basis, and when you tell a visual story in a 16-bit platform, it makes it very difficult to make out things.
yeah, there
Yeah, it leaves a lot of room for
Yes.
interpretation.
a lot of synths in the music
Hmm.
for this game, which perfectly fit its kind of cyberpunky uh, vibe. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
Yeah, I think this is one of the best pixel art looking games that I've played. Especially with the world too. They've got 4 distinct environments that they show off, and then all of the underground areas. It's just gorgeous, especially in full motion with all the detailed sprites battling fiercely over these battlefields. And like you guys said, the music on top of that, it's just, I think this game is an artistic achievement.
Yeah, I'm with you, Paul. In my opinion, I think the game looks outstanding, especially for the format it's in. I would say the only place that I had a little laugh to myself looking at the art style was in the final credit roll. When you're looking over at the sun, it straight up looks like it was made in MS Paint, and I was like, I could have painted that and just let it roll because it's pretty funny. It I mean, I think that's an issue you have when you just leave like a, a a pixel art image on a
Hmm.
screen, but man, it's kind of funny looking. Might get killed by the HLD truthers out there, but come on, go back to the credit roll scene. It's funny.
They ran out of budget.
For the credits.
So let's dive deeper into the storytelling style. Gradle touched on it. Uh, rather than there being any dialogue, any voice acting, or any text, when you talk to certain sprites in the game, they pop up a series of images, uh, maybe like 3 to 5 images that details the events that took place to them previously.
Yeah.
This game is very hard to tell what the hell's going on. You're kind of you spawn in and you're in the middle of this world where obviously something's happening, but it's not really clear what. And all of the information that you have to try to clear it up in your head what's going on is in this form where nothing's really told to you. You got to try to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, it's up for interpretation, right? And that's one of my gripes with it, I guess, is like I have no idea what my motivation is for this. I just know that I am a hyper light drifter and I see other hyper light drifters periodically. And then the rest of these characters, it seems like they've been, fucked over in some way. Like, like based on the 3 images, they're obviously like bad things are happening to each of these people. So I'm like, is this some kind of alternate universe where like bad stuff is happening and you're going between? Like, I was just very confused the entire
Yep,
time of like what the hell is going on.
Yeah, this game
completely agree.
opens and there's
Yep,
these
sorry.
giants that look like they're from Attack on Titan in a
Yeah.
cutscene, and then you walk around and the screen slowly starts pulsing, and then it just goes black as your character collapses, and it's like, what the hell is going on? There's a dog that shows up
Oh, yeah.
randomly.
This is the point where we're gonna get in the comments the whole explanation of the Hyperlight lore and.
Yeah,
I have the
Oh,
Reddit page
okay.
up.
Yeah, but without looking anything up. Like, yeah, if you go and you look it up, I'm sure there's people who have pieced a lot of it together. But if you
What-
just go in blind,
what I got from it was, there was the other hyperlight drifter that ends up dying, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you to do something.
To
Fight
beat.
the guy
To beat.
under the city.
Yeah. To beat the Aku guy. For lack of a better term.
are you talking about the final boss?
Yeah.
The final
I didn't
Yeah.
boss.
It's
No, like,
you're
what the final boss
samurai.
was gonna
You're
be.
samurai Hyperlight drifter, and you gotta beat Aku Eye guy.
Yeah, I didn't know why I was fighting any of these bosses.
Yeah, exactly.
Found
No idea of my
Yep.
motivation for any of them, and no idea of my motivation for what I was actually doing. And
In the speed
Yep,
run,
completely agree.
in the speed
because-
run, they said they called it collecting purple Doritos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so accurate. So yes, we are Hyperlight Drifter. Honestly, we could create the story right on the spot between the four of us. I mean, I think that we're a Hyperlight Drifter clan organization, and we're really hungry for our Doritos, and occasionally we throw up. Code Red, and
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
too real. It's too...
and so we're trying to find a cure to our Code Red disease.
No, but I completely agree with you, Gradil, when you say that you never figured out our reason why we're doing
Mhm.
this. Like, I remember beating the final boss and walking out and being like, and credits roll and being like, so what was the purpose
Yeah.
of that? Like, I don't understand whatsoever what I just did or why.
Yeah, and for all of the HLD fans that are gonna hate on us, we're just a group of giant idiots that don't understand the lore of this world.
I don't think they will, though, because I doubt that the people who really enjoyed this game and like still like who have done multiple
Mhm.
playthroughs and really like it, I doubt they fully understood everything after the first
Yeah.
playthrough, because that's kind of some of the charm of it, right?
Yeah,
That's
aren't
very
there
true.
scholars you can find throughout the world that kind of give you some more insight into the lore?
Not really.
Kinda,
It's-
but it's still the same thing. It's like three
and it's
pictures. Who
always
knows what's going
and
on?
it always has something to do with like something bad that happened to them, like they were either robbed or
Yeah.
their homes destroyed, or
You can believe
again
a
I'm like,
lot.
is this like limbo? Is this purgatory? Like these people are dead and they're sent here? Because like to me it's depicting like murderers and like fires and like all sorts of bad things happening. Is that how they died? And now we're in this hyper light drift.
It seems like from just the underground areas, they seem like they're these derelict labs, and this is some kind of post-apocalyptic world that's
Yeah.
in decline. And it's just interesting. And it's like John said earlier, it's all just up to your interpretation as the player.
So
I'm curious what the Reddit page has to say.
Yeah,
yeah,
let's go.
that's what I was gonna ask. Even after reading this, I'm still not 100% sure what's going on. But I was gonna ask if you guys want to get a quick summary of it, because it's really freaking long. But
Yeah, you want it too long didn't read for us what it says?
Yeah, I'll chew this apart real quick. Okay. So, backstory is shown in the opening cutscene, where people shows a race of people that have made great scientific advances. The greatest being a wellspring that can perfect an immortality cell and imbue all sentient life with immortality. The giant diamond shape at the end that you kill is that cell. Um, it would bring immortality into the world by uniting the souls of the inhabitants, but not everyone is on board with this. The Drifter fought the Titans and defeated them, so apparently before the game even starts, the Drifter had defeated the Titans, which is what we saw in the opening cutscene. As well as in certain parts of the game, when you're walking past, you can see the Titans frozen and dead in the background.
I know. I was just waiting for one of them to come to life, but they never did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you could put
So
anything like that. It'd be kind of weird. The scale into a 2D game.
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah, it would be
Top
tough.
down.
But so he defeated the Titans, but the cell was not destroyed and sits in the heart of the world. That's where we have to travel into the center of the world to eventually destroy that cell. The Drifter is led underground to destroy the cell, but the corruption is too strong and he cannot reach it. The Drifter dies, and apparently this is all before the game. This is theory before the game, and now as the game has started, the Drifter is resurrected. Gravely injured and tainted by corruption, which is the terminal illness that he now faces, but he can still complete his mission by exploring the worlds and activating power modules. Around the world, you see what the corruption has caused: aggressive and violent frog people. The bird people have formed a cult, sacrificing their own people. And the forest got infested with a parasitic crystal. So that's the 3 regions. Kind of like the backstory with what's going on with each of those. The few people who have survived the apocalypse tell stories of their homes being destroyed by corrupted creatures, or even how they once fought alongside the Drifters to destroy the Titans. So now the question is, who resurrected you, the main character, your Drifter? Which is, I've seen this in a couple different places, that jackal or dog must be Anubis, the god of the underworld, and he resurrects you in order to destroy the power cell that is housed in his realm. Why? I'm not sure, but he wants it gone.
Well, because he's the god of the underworld, right? And immortality.
Right,
Immortality,
so
yeah, would be a bad thing for his business.
That makes sense.
It's capitalism, baby.
So
and death is money.
So he resurrects you and the other Drifter, who turns out not to be strong enough and dies, leaving you as the sole person who can solve this issue, who can destroy the Power Stone. But basically, like, for the most part, the gist has already been said. Anubis resurrected you so that you can destroy the power cell because it's messing with his shit.
So basically, as is common with a lot of our podcasts, the story just is not that great to summarize.
No, it's a good story, honestly. I mean, it's good and it's interesting, but it's mostly speculation.
Yeah.
Like, the power cell created the Titans. You defeated the Titans, but the power cell still remains. That's your motivation to destroy the power cell. Anubis resurrects you so that you can complete that goal. But because you've already died once, you have this terminal illness. And once you finally do resurrect the power cell, or destroy the power cell, you find your final resting place and lay there.
Yeah, I liked my interpretation better.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
The
Doritos and
Doritos
Code
are
Red
Code Reds.
disease.
Code Red.
Mm-hmm. Code Red disease.
well, that explanation is even more cooler knowing the backstory of the developer. You know,
Yes.
how he has a
True.
disease and wanted to make this game personal to him, it's very cool. What he managed to do with this game, I think.
It's interesting too. Like the backstory says that after being resurrected, the drifter has the disease. Whereas, so like he has to accomplish this goal with this disease, and the developer, uh, he was born with this disease, right?
Hmm.
So it's like kind of start of life, start with this
Illness.
illness. Yeah. I wanted to just quickly touch on the mechanics of the game, uh, the feel of the combat, what your guys' favorite guns were,
And
uh, and just how different mechanics of traveling around felt,
and upgrades
Uh,
and
in this
upgrades.
section too.
yeah, I can start. I really liked the sniper that does the beam shot,
Yeah.
and I like just the base pistol you start with because you get so many shots. And I thought the combat was a lot of fun. One of the best points of the game. Uh, really, one of the only points of the game, right? But dashing around, throwing off sick combos, hitting bullets back at people once you get that upgrade, like makes you feel really strong. Um, so yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I liked the combat a ton too. I think that I enjoyed myself, and it was definitely quick paced, but also um mechanical, I guess, in that you really needed to be sure of where you were going to be at the end of your dash and like how many times you hit before dashing and that type of thing. Like your management was really about like downtime management. You wanted to not be stuck in one place for too long, right? And so tailoring your style to that. The guns that I liked, yeah, I agree with Jay. I use mostly the pistol and the sniper. But wasn't there a pistol upgrade that like was like a blast one at the end?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how that was good.
Yeah, I think I used the ball one a couple of times, and I used the ball and the sniper, but yeah, mostly the sniper.
Yeah, I thought the combat was smooth. I really liked the combat. I liked how, like you said earlier, Gradil, especially in the boss fights, but even just like in a few
Mm-hmm.
corridors, the combat was difficult. Um, Mechanical. Not the combat was difficult, but just like sometimes the sheer number of enemies made it difficult to be able to dodge and weave through every projectile that was coming to you. And so the difficulty I thought uh, was very nice. The and I just thought it was really smooth in how you could weave everything together. Your dashes, being getting good at dashing and putting like 8 or 10 of them together, like just felt really good. Bonking a wall and like based on how many dashes you put in a row, like is how you hit it harder. Like I just thought it felt really good. I used the shotgun basically exclusively after I unlocked it.
I I I would for exploration. I'd switch it out. But if it's like you said, where I was surrounded by a bunch of things, I'd use the shotgun a ton.
For the shotgun, I unlocked it and then I tested it out, and then I switched back to the sniper.
Gotcha. I didn't use pistol. I used shotgun
Correct.
sniper.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
Oh, correct. So,
Yeah,
oh,
correct.
I'm sorry that I didn't use the shotgun as much, Paul, in my incorrect play style.
The nice thing about the shotgun was like even on bosses, like point
So
blank,
much
the shotgun did
damage,
5
yep.
damage. So like on bosses, you could just go like once you figured out their rotation, you could walk up to them and just unload. It had a, a a reasonably long, maybe a second and a half, like reload time between
Hmm.
shots. But like once you got used to that, you could just put in five damage, and I think it made the boss a lot easier. I don't know, maybe I feel like if I was using pistol sniper, the bosses would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I just enjoyed with the for boss fights. I wouldn't use the sniper at all. I would use the pistol and just be able to shoot a bunch. All these bosses were in their animation. I could get a bunch of shots off on them. So, and then when you got the dash where you would absorb projectiles, um, reload up and unload again, it was that was the playstyle that I gravitated towards.
I never got that. What exactly did that
So
do?
basically, if you dash through a projectile, you would not take damage, but you would absorb the projectile and it would give you ammo.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used the dash reflect instead a lot, and then realized that didn't work on the final boss, as we'll talk about. So then I had to grind the shard pieces to get the other reflect skill with the sword.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I never had either of those.
I just had
Don't know if I missed that
I
sword.
had I
No.
had the reflect thing and I didn't use it at all until the final boss and I was like, "Wait, this is really good."
Yeah, but not the dash reflect.
Did
I thought this game was one of those games you play and you're watching yourself run around these rooms and kill these enemies, and it just makes you feel like you're good at video games. The combat is simple, but it's fun. Dashing around, shooting, switching to your sword. A lot of fun to play.
Apparently, there's 2 hidden guns that you need 8 modules for.
Yep. I didn't do a ton of research into what those were, but there are 2 other guns. I was curious if any of you were gonna bring them up. I didn't know
There's one.
how deep
There's
you
one
went.
I
I
didn't do
got that has a weird name that I never really used. It starts with a Z.
You got it though.
Zay, whatever.
Yeah, you get it after one of the bosses. So you must have gotten it too. And it just shoots. It's like a bigger pistol, basically. It does 3 damage. It has a
Oh,
bigger
yeah.
hitbox, but it
Yeah,
has
it's
a
the
faster
it shoots the
fire
ball, right? It shoots the
Yeah.
ball. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about earlier. Yeah, that's the one I used after
rate. Okay. Yeah.
upgrading the pistol.
Yeah, that one yeah. I didn't know how that one was better than the regular pistol, so I just immediately put it
I
away
didn't
after
like it as
testing it.
much because you
But
couldn't
what
shoot around objects as well with it.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. What Alec is saying is that each zone, and this is something that I really liked about the game as well, and this kind of is a little bit mechanical and kind of a little bit exploration. But what I liked was there's a lot of secret areas, and they gave more, like a lot more uh, of each item that you need to find than was
Yeah.
required.
So you needed 3,
For example,
right?
you needed 4 of each of the power modules. In each area, there were 8
Mhm.
power modules. How? I have no
Same.
fucking clue. But there were. And the nice thing is, all you had to do was find 4 of them, right? And so I would struggle trying to find 4 of them, but for people who want to find all 8, they can. And when they do that, they open, each area has an 8 power module door. And behind 2 of those, like you just said, there is a new gun that you
Yeah.
can use.
So I don't know what those did. I don't think any of us do. But
Yeah.
if you unlocked it, mention in the comments below.
I was curious about, 100%ing this game for achievements, and there was like a third party website you could go to that had a map that just showed all the shit over the bad map, as we already mentioned.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way.
It's
And that's another thing is, I did watch the Easy Allies review before playing this game, and maybe it affected me, but one of their criticisms was when you're searching for stuff, it's not really fun to just run into every wall
yes.
everywhere you go, expecting there to be a hidden pathway somewhere.
I was
They're marked,
I was
though.
gonna say that
Super
as well.
Metroid checks in.
Was that it seemed like, and I didn't watch the review, but it seemed like the only way I was going to be able to find stuff was trial and error. And as much as I
Yeah.
love jumping off of every ledge to see
That-
an invisible platform is there or not, I'm not going to
That-
invest the time into
Invisible platforms have a mark as well.
a mark.
There's markings that indicate secret areas, invisible ledges,
Oh,
all
I
of
did
that
not
stuff.
pick up
And
on that.
For me,
I don't.
I had a lot more fun once I realized, what to look
For
for.
a tiny gap in a tree there's no marking for that. You just run into the trees.
On the ground, typically.
No, I don't think so.
Not on the ground before the gap.
I didn't
But-
recognize any markers. I
I
guess.
recognize the marker
can't
for the
tell-
invisible platforms, but not for like running into this wall and there might be a fake wall there that you can run through to get behind. And
Like when you watched me play the western
Mhm.
area, and I found that module behind the wall. The reason I went that way is because there was a marker on the ground.
yeah, but there's a bunch of other collectibles in this too, other than just the purple Doritos. There's the little yellow squares everywhere
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
have, no marker on how to get to, and they're just hidden behind pixelated environment.
Yeah, that's fair. I thought for the most part, a lot of what you needed to find for those secret areas were pretty fair, and that's why I had fun with exploration. And also, the other part of that is what I just said, is that you didn't need to find everything. They put in more than enough
Yeah, but
of each item that you could skip over.
you need to
stuff.
find everything if you're going for all the achievements. Was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you enjoy the game enough to go for all the achievements, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, I explored a fair amount, and I never made the connection that there was a marker to that, but I enjoyed the fact that I could get my 3 to unlock the boss and then get my 4th one through the boss, and like that was enough for me. I think I did 2 or 3 additional ones. I will say the one time that, like, as shitty as the map is, like, at least the first 2 zones, and by first 2, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but by first 2 I meant the East Frog Kingdom and the North Bird Kingdom. That those 2, like, they marked on the map where the Doritos were, right? So I got those 3 Doritos roughly by trying to get there. But then on the west side, you couldn't access the ones that were marked on the map because they were behind that door. So you had to find a secret one. And for that, I had to look it up because I had no idea where to find these secret modules.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I went west first, and I found the Doritos without looking it up. But I'm just saying, at the beginning, I was set on 100%ing this game, and I just got tired of running into every wall just in case there might be a hidden area.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 100%ing a game and playing a game are 2 different perspectives. That's all I'm saying.
I don't 100% games unless I love them. I don't think John 100%s any games.
I don't 100% games. I 100%ed. What did I 100%? Far Cry 3.
That's
Long time
That's
ago.
why we have our different viewpoints on this podcast, right? It's because
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you how many games I've 100%.
Then don't. Oh.
And we've talked about
Hannah Montana, the
achievements.
movie, the game. No.
But yeah.
We've talked about our preferences for completing games too, and achievements and all that stuff on the previous episode.
Yeah.
So,
Did any of you guys like use grenades effectively?
Say how you felt about the bombs. I didn't feel like I used them effectively because of how often the enemies just moved away from them.
Yeah.
Couldn't
Only
get
on
my
boss
timing.
fights when they were pretty stationary.
Mm-hmm.
I used them a lot, but my problem was I was always out of them because I used them a lot. So
Right. I didn't buy them until before the final boss fight. So.
I spent my upgrades on the dash deflection. That was like one of the first ones I bought because it was just like so convenient to get through like people shooting at you. And then what's the other? Oh, maybe sword dash. I did towards like the mid to end.
I never got sword dash either. What
The
that
dash
one do?
attack, like you would just like slice through an enemy like on your dash, basically. So it combined a dash and an attack.
Ooh, that's cool. Yeah.
But
in my typical fashion, I got ammo and I got the multiple dash.
yes.
And then I didn't spend any of my bits until fighting the final boss. Because I didn't want to read.
Classic.
Did any of you play the soccer minigame?
Yeah, I did.
No.
I got my ass kicked. I never scored a goal.
Listen. It was very difficult, but then when you grind out and buy the charge slash, yeah, you can just like one shot it into the goal like 3 times.
Yeah. That I spent a lot of time on this soccer game until I figured out I already had the charge slash, but until I figured out I could just beam it in from the starting point.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of, I don't know if any of you played, I don't know, it's not very popular, but there was like a Bugs and Taz old PC game where they had soccer. It was basically the same mechanics as this, but yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, and it was a fun achievement to get, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, it was an achievement to win a soccer game?
Star athlete.
And you got like a bit afterwards or something, some kind of upgrade.
Yep. But yeah, it was fun, and yeah, I got my ass kicked over and over and over, and then I bought the charge slash and beat it within like 3 attempts. Not even 3. It was like, yeah, it was very easy to just beam it in, like Jay said.
Yeah, because I was going for a completionist at the beginning, I kind of had an excess of bits, so that I didn't know what to buy, so I just picked up the charge slash randomly.
I upgraded my health first, actually, because that was one thing I wanted to talk about, was like a mechanic of health management in this game. There were times where, you know, you're exploring the dungeons, right? And then you get to the boss or like mini boss or whatever, and you don't have enough to heal with because you spent it all on the minions. Like, I found myself in that situation, and then I would have to like start from the beginning and just like sprint through those rooms because they're all optional, right?
Really? I was always like maxed out on health, and I think it was mainly because I would conserve it. I would rather die than use my health a lot of times. So,
I think I had a similar situation to Alec, but not like completely the same. Like, I'd go in with like 1 health kit out of 3, and then I just, rather than restart the whole thing because I'm having a hard time, I just smash my face into it till I finally beat it. Which is my favorite mechanic of this kind of game, of like a hard game. I've said it before, but you can lose 1,000 times, but if you beat it once, you beat it.
Yeah.
It was so quick too. There's no like long loading screen. Like you die and you're back fighting the boss again.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
True.
Yeah, could you imagine a 60-second load between each death on a game like this?
That'd be brutal.
No, it'd be really, really bad.
Brutal.
So, there any more mechanical items we want to talk about before moving on to the boss fights?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, I played the game in the order of North Territory, which is the Bird Kingdom, East, which is the Frog Kingdom, West, which is the Crystal Forest, and then South, which is the Labs. So that's the order that we'll go through the bosses. That starts us with the Hierophant, who is that bird at the top of
One
the mountain.
comment on your order. Mine's the same, with the exception that I started west, and then I couldn't find the third Dorito, so I went to the northeast.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea why I started north. I couldn't tell you, other than like, I don't know. I guess I just followed the path, and the path that I chose went to the north region. I didn't see the path straight to the
I
west
think
region.
Paul and I both started west. I went west and then east and then north and then south.
I mean, that's an interesting thing as well, right? Because I think there's obviously from where you spawn in, it's closest to the west region. Why? But from most of what I've seen, you don't want to start west region as your first area.
Yeah.
But whatever, you can do
I
whatever
think
you
when I
want.
told you I started west, I mixed up east and west because I'm pretty sure I started with the water area, which is east.
Oh.
Mhm.
Well,
He lied to you, Jay, is what he's saying.
it's
That's
typical
wrong.
from Paul.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I just want to be involved. Yeah, I went west too.
I went east and I hated it. That was my least favorite area.
Really? I went west and west was my least favorite.
I didn't.
Oh, so I
boss
see a
in east.
pattern here. Your least favorite is the
I-
first one you try
The
because you're
first
not
boss
used
I
to.
beat was north.
That's so funny. North was my least favorite area.
I mean, it makes sense, right?
I-
Once you beat one area, you pretty much like got the feel of the game that you can
Can you go south?
adapt to other areas. No, you need
No,
to clear the
it's
3.
blocked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to go south after west, and I was like, I can't. Guess I'm going east.
Yep. Yeah, there's 3 beams that have the arrow directions on them. I noticed in the south that each time you clear an area, it clears that beam. Fun fact. The Hierophant.
So, the Hierophant, who is the bird at the top of the mountain. The main mechanic of this bird is it has a couple attacks where it creates exploding tiles underneath you, or exploding tiles throughout the room. It has a couple more moves as well, but honestly, they weren't what I struggled with at the beginning. Getting hit with those tiles was the main
Yeah.
issue. Plus, because this was my first region, first boss, all I had at this point was the sword and the pistol, which I think makes this one of the harder bosses. Probably whichever boss you face first, because you have no upgrades, becomes one of the hardest bosses in the game.
Disagree.
Unless the first boss you fight's the Toad, because
The Toad was the easiest for sure, and I have that written in my notes.
I have that in my notes too. Easiest boss fight of the game.
Yeah. So I think
So what'd you guys
that this guy took me like a few attempts, maybe like 3 to 5 in that range, but he wasn't. Yeah, once you figured out his mechanics, as with anything, right, in this game, or this genre of games. Once you figure out his 4 mechanics, you pretty much are there. And I actually liked
Yeah.
this boss fight. It was pretty.
Mhm.
It was fun,
I liked it too.
and I
liked
like
the
that he was
crow
like,
enemies that you have to fight right before you get to his boss room. I remember thinking that was a cool hallway to traverse across.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then yeah, I'd echo what you were saying, Griddle. Took me a couple attempts before I beat him. It was really just learning to dodge the tile attacks that you mentioned, John. Good one to do early before you have a bunch of upgrades.
yeah. This
I mean, like we've said, I was hating this game going into this boss in the north area, not knowing what the hell's going on, struggling to get enough of the modules. Finally getting to the boss, I'm like, all right, let's finally get this freaking zone done so I can move through this game. This boss is where I started enjoying the game, because I felt that this was a major redemption to what I had been experiencing. Uh, I really enjoyed this boss fight. The difficulty of it, having to use all my mechanics. I like how the exploding floor underneath you forced you to learn your dash distance.
I was going to
Like, just
say.
a lot of that stuff
Yeah, this boss
was like really good to me.
was definitely designed as an evasion based boss, right? Not only your own evasion because his attacks are quick and like sporadic, but also he's evading all the time. He's warping across. So like you're using your dash not only to evade but to try and get attack opportunities in, right? So it's teaching you both of those very crucial mechanics of, be fast on your feet, but also, know when to attack, because it's not going to be all the time that you're able to run in and do your 3 slashes.
All right. Does anyone have anything else on the Hierophant?
Fun boss. I think the boss fights were the most fun part of this game, hands down.
100% agree. And I guess that kind of, I guess I'll bring it up here. And by the end, I switched uh, on this take. But I don't know, maybe you guys feel this way. We played Cuphead a while ago, and Cuphead is, in a lot of ways, I think, a pretty similar game where the majority of the content of the game, the thrill of the game, comes in these difficult boss fights. Cuphead a little bit more difficult, but kind of the same kind of thing. Whereas in Cuphead, because the story isn't such an important factor of the game, it is quick and you just walk between boss fights. Whereas in this game, there is a lot of uh, exploration between the boss fights. I hated the exploration when I was going through the north area, and as I went through the other areas, I started to love it. Um, but for a while there, I had the take where, I was thinking this game would have been better just as a boss gauntlet. Uh, I switched on that, but I'm wondering what your guys' opinion would have been. Would this have been better for you if it was just, maybe there's a few more bosses and it's just a boss gauntlet in the vein of like a Cuphead?
No, I did like that the exploration and the dungeons and everything in this game were challenging in their own right. I mean, if you didn't respect some of the mandatory battles, you were gonna die multiple times. So I liked that the boss fights weren't just the hard parts, right? The main game itself challenged you.
I think a game where instead of all these areas and corridors that you walk around and find these shards, like if you just kind of walk from boss to boss, but in between bosses, there were like a couple rooms just full of enemies that you like dash around and dismantle before you fight the next boss. Kind of like the run and gun levels in Cuphead. That might have worked for me. That might have been cool.
I would have preferred if it was just
I don't know if I
completely
would've
empty and you ran on a horse
I don't know if I would like that better.
Oh man, that's fair. I didn't even think of that.
That's, I think North area was where I kind of figured out the gameplay loop of how to navigate and scrounge for all the purple Doritos and any hidden chips to upgrade your gear. And I don't know. I like walking through all the environments and seeing more of this world. But I did really like the combat too, so might have liked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I was getting at is just whether or not you believe that what you get out of the content in between the bosses is worth the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think both ways are fun. I would say yes though. I think the time in between bosses, exploring the world is worth the time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they could have done a mode where it's just boss gauntlet, but
There might be
and there might
post
be,
game. I don't know.
but yeah, I think
there
that
is.
it definitely doesn't detract from the experience as a whole, and I think that it was designed to be both like an explorative experience where you get your ass kicked, and then a boss gauntlet where you get your ass kicked, just merged into one.
Yeah, if you made this
Emphasis on getting your ass kicked.
if you cut all of the content in between the boss fights, it's definitely a worse game in my opinion. I guess maybe that's more what you were asking.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with that because I think at that point you have no story. And I think because of how this story is set up, we have a hard time understanding it, which even opens the door for this question.
Well, and that's the
But
other fun part of the game to me is the when you unlock the unlimited dash, just like flying through the areas, you know.
That's fair, yeah.
there's an unlimited dash.
I don't think I unlocked that.
It is, but it's very hard to time.
I have
There's
a
a
double
room
dash.
Yeah, I know the room
And-
you're talking about.
where it counts your number of dashes, and it's just like a circle. It's where you buy the upgrade.
Isn't there an achievement for doing like 100 J?
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's more. I think it's higher than that. It's 1 second. I'll check. But yeah, you have to. It's like a circle in the room, and you can go around and it'll count it. Count how many dashes you can chain.
Is that
That's
different
cool.
than the double dash? Or?
I like that.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think so.
So yeah,
I think
I
you just
just
didn't
never- yeah.
try it.
I just thought it was a double dash.
So
That sometimes, yeah, that sometimes had a delay and sometimes didn't. That I never got the timing down on.
That's funny.
Yeah, I always just treated it as a double dash. It's funny that I never tried.
There's
beyond
some
that.
like secret areas that you can only get to by chain dashing. So there was one that I had to go to for an achievement, but you had to perfectly chain dash because the floor would fall away if you were slower than a perfect chain dash for a long amount of way. It was in the east area.
Yeah, yeah. I did that one. That one was really tough,
Yeah.
honestly, because there was other areas where you had to chain dash, but like they were large panels that would
Yeah.
disappear. That one was like 15 tiny
Precision
panels that you had to
chain
dash between,
dashing.
right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was really hard.
Yeah, now that I think about it, the only reason that I knew to do that, to dash multiple times and not just two, was because I saw that area and I realized that the only way to get across that was to dash like 100 times in a row. Talking about the east area, The boss of the East area, which is the water area, is the Toad King, or
Do you
the Emperor,
do you
or the
want to play
Toad
the
King.
video while we discuss?
Um. Oh yeah. Good call.
On mute. You can mute it. There we go.
I'll mute it.
Yeah, Toady Boy. I think that he was the easiest boss in the game, and we already said that. But I mean, you see here, he doesn't move, and when
Yeah.
he does,
He
I
barely
killed
does
this guy
anything.
so fast. But I will say, he looks cool. He's a
He
big
does look cool.
bullfrog with like moss growing on top of his head. Pounce.
Well, he's a toad.
Whatever. He pounces around. He looks really cool. So I was a little disappointed when all he did was hop a couple of times.
yeah,
And
and
then
throw
he
out
was
his little
dead.
guys that you can kill in a second. Yeah.
Same, because like I said before, I felt like the bird was the highlight of the north area, the bird boss, and so I'm expecting like an epic boss fight, and it is a one try lost, got hit one time.
Yeah, the only
Boss.
the only
Like,
thing
huh.
worse than going to this boss after the bird is easily going to the boss after the samurai, which I'm sure is what we'll talk about next, because that's
Hey,
like
just-
night and day of this guy not doing anything.
Just to clarify from earlier, there is a boss rush mode in
Ah,
this game,
nice.
Oh, cool.
so you can do both.
Is it after completion?
I don't think so. I just think it's another mode on the main menu.
Oh, okay. So it's from it's a separate thing.
Yep.
Gotcha. Next boss, we're going to the western area, which is the Crystal Forest, or the Crystal Infested Forest. The boss in this area is the Hanged Man, who Alec has been calling.
Yeah, I thought it was a samurai.
No, he's a
I
hanged
know. Wow,
man.
I'm just a complete idiot. He looks like a hanged man now that you mention it. Not any resemblance to a samurai. But yes, this was easily the hardest boss fight for me to get a hang of, and this was the one. Yeah,
Whole game?
I would say the whole game. I mean, at this point
Wow.
in the game,
What?
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm
The
looking
whole
at
game
my
or
other,
at this point?
at this point,
Well,
100%.
he means because he's got less
But-
stuff,
Yeah,
right?
and looking back on it, it may have been easier, compared to the final boss. But
Look at this video. Like my notes were that this guy is so fast compared to
Yes.
the other bosses I'd fought so far. Gives you like no time to heal, and he summons a minion who's pretty tough too.
yeah, so you have the recommended strategy is to have him blast those own crystals, which this guy isn't doing, but he can destroy his own minions. So then it's just a one-on-one. But yeah, if he summons minions, adding an extra layer to that makes it so much harder. And this was like the point of the game where I wrote a note and I said, shittiest part of the game by far is that once you get hit, you're probably getting hit twice
Yep.
because of the post dash. And especially with this guy, he hits you once, you're not able to dash away. He's hitting you again because he's so freaking fast.
Yeah, and when he drops to 50%, his 2-hit combo turns into a 3-hit combo. So if you get hit when you've gotten drained, you're getting hit 3 times. And probably dying at this point in the game.
Yes, and yeah, he is a pain in the ass. I thought I was never gonna beat this game after him. Well, there were multiple points, but after him was the first point.
I like this boss because
Where I
he's
was like, I'm
fast
not
and
beating
can
him.
keep up with you. So you're dashing around and he's on your ass. And
Yeah,
it was the first one where my heart was pounding a little bit. I was
same. And it took me a ton of tries, I would say, and like I think it made me a better player for it for sure because I was getting used to my own mechanics, trying to avoid his. And if I had realized that I could probably do 3 dashes instead of 2, that would have made it a little easier.
Oh, definitely, because he attacks 3 times
Yep.
later. So you were only dashing out of 2 and getting
Yep.
hit with the third one.
Because I never got the timing down. I didn't realize there was a timing, so I think I gave up trying. I was like,
That's pretty good.
like, oh, I guess I'm gonna stop.
So, yeah, this was the first boss I did, and I don't remember having specific amount of trouble with it. I will say the north and the east were definitely easier,
Mm-hmm.
and that since it was the first boss I didn't know if that was because I got upgrades or not. And off topic from the point before, the achievement is for 100 dashes in a row, and then to get the outfit for it, you have to do 800 dashes in a row,
Wow.
which is
Jesus,
incredibly
how
hard.
long is that? That's like 30 straight minutes of dashing.
Oh yeah, it's tough.
That's crazy
Some
tough.
some people were saying like if you set up a metronome and turn off the sound and time your dashes that way, but you still have to avoid walls and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Yeah. Yeah, I think the Hangman was easily the hardest boss
First area. Yeah.
in the first 3 areas. I can't believe you did him first. Like, for me, I had a pretty difficult time. Even after beating the north and east area, and bringing the shotgun to it, like, it still took me probably double-digit attempts, and that was with me. And I finally had to figure out that like when he's doing his crystal attack, uh, I can just dodge out of that and just unload my shotgun into him and be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm surprised like with no upgrades, like you didn't really have that hard of a time.
yeah,
Yeah, well, he's just a lot
It's
better
pretty
at
good.
video games than us.
Well, yeah, some people are
Mhm.
just better.
I wouldn't say that.
It's fine. That's fine. Anyway,
Next boss.
so that was the hang boss. You go into the southern area. The southern area is where you get into the
Mhm.
labs. In these labs, this is where you see that they are creating something. Not 100% sure what, but obviously some pretty advanced tech. In this area is unique in that, like you guys said earlier, it's locked to access until the first 3 areas are uh, beaten. That, and also the fact that there are 3 mini bosses and then the final boss in this area. So the first mini boss is the Summoner, which is a pretty cool moment. If you haven't played the game and plan to, you should, because like this spoiler would be the biggest of the game. So go ahead and turn it off right now if you haven't played it. And come back uh, for the end of our
Hey,
episode. But
just
basically, you get to the first.
just real quick, should I turn off the podcast because I haven't done this boss? Um,
This is an
in,
optional boss?
in the South, you don't have to do all the bosses.
Yeah.
You only have to do
Really?
2 out of
like
the
one
3 mini
less.
bosses, right?
Yeah. So I only did the other ones. I missed this one. I didn't know he was there.
Ha! Loser!
I beat the game and I was like, why didn't I get the achievement for beating all the bosses? And turns out I missed this guy.
I might
That's
have missed
funny.
one. I don't know if I got it.
And then we can just message in general when we're done talking about him.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. I'll listen.
Go
I was
ahead
just
and mute
joking.
all of us, Jay, because there's going to be some heavy
All right.
spoilers. Play the video, John.
This is a cool moment. if you can watch this and you'll get the gist.
So
I'll read my note. So
Or not, because this frickin' guy on his recording didn't do his original walk-in of the
oh
the
thing. He
cutscene.
frickin' died and came back in. Yeah, so basically, you come in, and this was my first module of the area. You come in, and you see
that's right. You try pulling it.
the power module, and you try pulling it, and then the boss pops up.
Yep,
And he's like,
the
"This ain't
deep
a module,
fake.
this is me."
Yep,
That's awesome.
it was awesome. I forgot about that, but thank you for bringing it up, John, because that is extremely
Yeah,
important.
it was cool.
All right, mute this video, and then
My,
Oh yeah, good
my
call.
note on this boss is bullet hell boss.
yes,
This is
Which
And-
is
absolutely
really cool with the dashing mechanics in this game and the projectiles that you can shoot. So I thought it was a good
yeah,
style choice.
and just looking at him, you're gonna take some damage, and so this is where my earlier comment about health conservation, this was the boss that made me realize it, because I had originally showed up with 1 or no health packs on him,
Oh yeah.
and that was a big mistake. So I restarted and ran through the rest of it, and then it became a lot easier. But he's still he's
tough.
pretty badass, yeah. Oh no, yeah, I beat him on 1 heal when I had, because I failed like 10 times without any health, but I was like getting close. I got him down to the quarter. As John said, at some point you ram your head against the wall long enough, and then eventually I got him on 1 heal. So
Yeah, so what was your strategy? Did you try to... So he releases these balls that shoot projectiles?
yeah, so again, like having that, and you just saw him do it, having that deflect dash, I think here is essential, because I would just close in the gap and not really worry about the projectiles, and then until they're grouped up, and then I would shoot a scatter shot, I think, to destroy the projectiles while also doing damage to him. That was my strategy.
Yeah, that's similar to what I did as well. I'd get them all grouped. And then
Yep.
I'd take them all out at once and then go try to fuck the boss up.
Yeah,
Yep, same thing.
and again, I feel like I didn't really worry too much about them once I had that ability. So if you didn't have that ability, I could see this being very, very difficult boss fight. But
I used it was pretty hard for me, but I used the shotgun to be able to try to take out as many as I could. The shotgun and the charged sword attack.
This
When they
is
grouped
probably
up.
the first boss that took me double-digit attempts.
mm-hmm.
And I think I tried to do it on not a full health bar either, full heals. So I went back after a few attempts and farmed up heals to be able to go back and beat him. But really, really fun fight.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and the bullet hell section's really cool. Like, I just love the look of bullet hell, to be honest. Like, when there's 100 projectiles coming at you, and you gotta just keep backing up until like a little space opens up for you to run through. I freaking love
Yeah.
that. All right, so boss number
In
2
this area,
in this area,
the
I think was the
sorcerer.
Reaper. Was that the?
Yeah, after the
Was it
summon,
sorcerer?
the sorcerer on that list. Yes.
The
So this
sorcerer.
was my optional boss that I went back and did. As Jay said, there was 1 optional boss in this area before you beat the final boss. And for me, he wasn't too bad at all. I got him on the 2nd try, and that's my only note on him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the one thing
I
I
don't
liked
think
when
this
we
boss
saw
was
in the
too hard.
video is that he would change the platforms in the rooms. So that was kind of cool. You had to adapt to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
having floor.
he got me a couple of times because I kept dashing into and falling off.
Yeah,
So,
maybe you should be better like me, Jay. A better gamer.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I also died a couple times, and I
Wow,
don't know, just a
Paul.
cool part of like the South was such an interesting region.
Mm-hmm.
Just all these robots down here, and it's so big. Like I think this is easily the biggest underground area of the game.
Watching these boss fights, it's like I never unlocked uh the deflect projectiles back ability. I'm so jealous of it
Yeah.
now. It looks like so much fun. Like look how easy that is. That looks awesome. I'm sure I have
You just
the
never
gear
went to
bits
the
required to get it
vendor.
right now. So
Start a new game plus.
I'm with you, John. I didn't get it
or
until
not
the final boss, and
co-op.
once I did, it became a lot easier. But
Yeah, there's one
yeah,
co-op.
Oh yeah, I forgot there's
Get
co-op
the
in this
let's do 2 co-ops and split,
game.
share the load. We
It's
can
fun.
see who can beat it. We could draft our partner right now if we want to make it random.
It's really not that like long
Mm-hmm.
of a game, you know.
Alright, we need to talk about the last mini boss in this area.
The
I
Reaper, you
mean, the
mean?
archer is what I called him. Oh no, sorry, the
The Reaper's the mini
scythe guy.
boss. The
Yeah, sorry,
Archer is the
scythe
final
guy.
boss of this
Scythe
area.
guy is what I called him.
This I thought was this boss was
Yes.
ridiculously hard. I hate to admit it. I looked up how to beat this boss. I could not beat
Really?
it.
This boss was
Yeah.
pretty cool, I thought. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the, as Grado calls him, the samurai boss.
Mm-hmm.
That he hits a lot harder.
Oh, you mean
The
the
hanged
drowned
man.
or the
Yeah.
hanged man?
It's obviously not a samurai, idiot.
Yeah, this one took me a bunch of tries, and I had my wife watching and
Yeah.
screaming that I'm bad. So it was fuel
Classic.
to the having to beat this boss.
Yeah, this
But-
was the one that made me put down the game for 2 weeks. And as you just saw him get slashed in the face and knocked on his ass, that's how I felt, just emotionally. But
Shotgun here is
after
so
it-
good.
yeah, I feel like after a 2-week break though is when, you know, it really puts the game in perspective, and I was able to beat him on like the 4th try after that. But
Yeah,
you know,
after he
going
throws-
into it,
After he throws the scythe, he's stunned in that animation, and you can dash behind him if you time it right. You can just unload your shotgun into him, and then you can get off. You have enough time to get off heavies too, if you can time that. But yeah, I mean, I died a lot too to him. He was tough. I really dug it.
Yeah, I died a shit ton of times. Like I said, I had to end up looking it up, embarrassingly enough, because I couldn't figure it out. But it's actually funny. Like once you look it up, he becomes like the easiest boss in the game.
What did the guide say to do?
most
Which
things,
makes
yeah,
sense,
it's
right?
learning the attack pattern, right?
There's no pattern, dude. All you do is after he throws his thing, you hold you dodge
Mhm.
that obviously. You hold charge attack, he runs at you, you let go of charge attack, and then you just dodge away, la da da. He throws his thing, you hold charge attack, he runs at you, you let go and then dodge and then
Just repeat that same thing.
dodge away. It's literally like could do it with my eyes closed.
Very
That's
impressive.
not how I beat him.
I beat him with my eyes closed too, just because I'm a superior gamer.
I didn't even beat him. I looked it up. It doesn't count. I suck.
No, it's. I think that him and the samurai hanged man are for 2 of the hardest for me for sure.
I think Reaper and then Judgment.
Yeah, the
Alright.
final boss was the hardest boss
Yeah.
for me.
He became easy once I got the
Yeah, I
skill
could beat
for
him
deflection,
until I
but I
switched to the deflect skill.
Yeah.
I don't think I used that. I don't think I knew about it.
I didn't know about it either. I didn't have,
Yeah. This
I never went in that
the
store, I
sword
don't
store.
think.
You never had the charged attack on your sword? I
It
don't
was
know.
a
I can't
sword
remember.
store?
Yeah.
I had the charge attack. Maybe I just never went back
Yeah.
after
That's all you
buying the
needed.
charge attack. Yeah. Alright, so that was the Reaper.
Now the archer.
Cool
Yeah.
boss, hard boss.
Yeah.
I'll go
it's the
back
one
and
after.
beat it without using that strategy. And by that I mean I won't.
Oh,
The
there he's
last
up
one
there.
is the Archer.
Right.
There it is.
Yep. Archer.
Yep. Which, it's strange, right? The Archer might be the easiest boss in the South area.
Yeah.
No.
No, there's the
Yeah, the
Sorcerer.
sorcerer was the easiest in that area. And this guy, yeah, I had a similar problem with the health management
I
because
think
of,
I thought this guy was a mob. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, he's fast. He covers the ground with bombs, which are a pain in the butt. And yeah, you're constantly needing to find a way to heal. And even with full health packs, and I had 5 of them at this point, because of all those bombs and trying to avoid them while also avoiding him, I definitely used all but one of them, or I had 1 health to spare by the time I killed him.
Yeah, he shoots a flurry
That's
of
awesome.
arrows, and I think they do a damage each. So I think one time I died because I was trying to heal, and I just got caught by like 3 of them. And it killed me. But
Yeah, and you gotta like get rid of the bombs as best you can, but it's so hard because bombs blow up their own bombs.
I know he puts so many down
Yeah.
in the fucking little squares you have to fight on.
Yeah.
So, I didn't record this fight when I played it, and I regretted it as soon
Well,
as
there's a
I beat
gauntlet
it.
mode.
Yeah, but I beat this boss in such a cool way. So it took me quite a few tries. Probably took me like 9 or 10 tries to beat
Yeah,
this boss,
for
the
sure.
Archer. But I learned that if you step on a mine, you can dodge away before it blows up. I ended up fighting the Archer. The time I won, I was fighting the Archer normally, shooting it with my shotgun, doing whatever. I stepped on a mine and dodged away. It set off a chain reaction, and it blew the Archer up and killed it.
That does sound cool.
And I was like, oh no, why wasn't I recording that? Like, that should have been in my thing. But I'll probably if there's a boss gauntlet mode, that's perfect. I'll fight all the bosses and then I'll record
Yeah, just
that.
record it in one sitting. But yeah,
Yeah.
this guy, I didn't know his bombs could do damage to himself. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. I didn't either
Yeah.
until he died to it.
And you saw it in that video too. Yeah, I mean that's funny that his own bombs are a hazard to himself, and so I would try and like keep the area clear so I never let it fill up to the point where it was going to do some damage to him.
Right.
Yeah, I beat this boss by getting good with the chain dash and having the dash absorbs the
For his arrows.
projectiles, because I would just dash around while I was shooting and then shoot him while he was not moving, laying down bombs, and then just dash around again.
The pro strat, in other words.
Yeah, those two abilities combined really helped with this boss, and I bet you it would help with the bullet hell one that I didn't do.
It will. Final boss time, JB?
Final boss. The final boss's name is Judgment. And you access it by going back into the town. And once you unlock 4 power modules and the main power module in each of the 4 regions, an elevator uh, an elevator activates that you can ride down into the core that is beneath the city.
Wait, his name is Judgment? I thought his name was
Judgment.
Aku!
You were wrong.
Yeah, I
His name is
was wrong.
Judgment.
All right, let's see some Judgment.
There's before we talk about really quick in the south area, before we talk about the final boss, there's one part I remember underground where you're walking through this area and there's this giant tank, and I think in your Reddit thing too, it talks about somewhere in there where like someone is trying to reincarnate or resurrect the Titans, and I just kind of clicked like, oh shit, that big tank that was glowing red, that must have been the Titan.
Oh.
So I guess that's part of the story, but I don't know. I just remember thinking it looked really cool and was wondering like what the hell was in there. But now it makes a lot more sense. And there's like robots that like are walking around there because most of the enemies in the south area underground are robots. So I guess these robots are like continuing to work on whatever these projects are that these dead scientists were working on. So I don't know. Good example of environmental storytelling.
It says that when the power cell was created, its corruption helped resurrect the Titan. I guess that's a good part of a good piece of the story, because if you're going to create immortality for all life, I don't think I've ever heard of a story where that is an option without there being a
consequence.
negative, a consequence, right? So the consequence is all of this life that is immortal now is corrupted, and these Titans are being summoned. Whatever that means.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's talk about Judgment.
Aku.
That's what
No,
I meant.
he meant Judgment. Yeah, this guy was definitely a hard one for me at first, and especially because I didn't have the deflect ability with the sword. So dodge, deflect doesn't work on him. Yeah. Unfortunately. So on all those little things that he took a hit on.
Yeah. So I couldn't beat this boss until I got the deflect on the sword to hit those back at him, and you could do a lot of damage to him that way.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, it took me a long time to figure out what the heck to do when the screen goes black like this and these things are there. And I still never knew you could attack these things, so I would just run to a corner, pick them up, and then dodge away after the screen went back.
If I didn't
and
kill
that's how I beat the boss.
If I didn't kill at least 2 of those things, I was dead.
Yeah, same. I relied on killing them.
Yeah, I was like, I like would panic. I'd be like, shit. And
I'd shit my pants.
Because where they were on the arena is where they would blow shit up. So you could just go to where they were. I literally never got hit by those things.
Yeah, not on 2 dashes.
You probably could on 2 dashes, because I would run to the corner and they would get grouped together, and then you could get away from them.
Sometimes I would
not on 2 dashes though.
Not consistently. Sometimes they just end up in spots where I just couldn't predict and I just die. So I just would try to kill 2 of them at least.
But I think going to the corner would be smart.
I get greedy and I would be too close to him when it went black. So then I just wouldn't be able to get to the corner away from them with 2 dashes in time.
He's saying go to the corner ahead of time.
Yeah,
Right, Jay?
before he goes black, I'd be like in his face trying to pump damage.
While he was black, I just would remember where the corner was and dash to it. They'd be
Mhm.
grouped, and then I'd go back and I'd dash out.
Yep.
I thought it was
I
really
see what
cool,
you're saying.
like visually when it would go black and you just see those orbs floating or those squares. Another pretty visual thing this game did that I liked.
Yeah. I didn't have the deflect projectiles, so I ended up. It took me a lot of tries. A lot of these bosses took me a lot of tries, but I ended up having to get pretty precise with it. Where if I, like, at the very beginning when he spawns in, I would try to get like 2 to 3 shotgun shots in, and if I didn't get a quarter of his health, then I'd just reset. Like, I this boss was really hard, and maybe I'd love to try it again with like the full arsenal of abilities, and just see what the difference is. I think it might be worth trying. Also, maybe we should co-op
Mhm.
too, though.
Yeah.
That
Would
would
be
be fun.
fun.
Yeah, I was beating my head against the wall. I couldn't beat it until I decided, let me try something else. And for me to get to that point, I have to die a lot. So,
Right.
this was by far the hardest boss for me. But once I switched, it took me maybe less than 10 tries. Switched to having the sword deflect the projectiles because I could hit like 5 of those little balls he shoots out back at him, and it'd be 5 damage.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's funny. The other thing is the when the screen goes black and those little squares on the screen. You guys are talking about killing those so that they don't, blow shit up. Only I would try to kill as many of those things as I could. Try to kill like 2 of them, just because I want my ammo back. Because it was so important to be able to pump
Yeah.
damage with that shotgun.
And you can get
And
closer
getting
to
to
him.
that guy to be able to use your sword on him
Yeah.
was so hard. Like there was not very much opening. So honestly, for me, I think Reaper was the hardest boss fight. But after that, very close second, I
Yeah.
think was Judgment.
I think Judgment was definitely the hardest boss fight for me.
I just couldn't figure Reaper out. My brain just never figured it out. So after you kill Judgment, you come to, and you're on top of the power crystal or whatever they called it. And you're stabbing the crystal. You're not actually in the arena stabbing Judgment. What do you guys think that means? And what about it being named Judgment? What's
Well,
that
I didn't know its
significance?
name was Judgment, but now I do,
Now you
and that,
do.
completely changes the whole story for me. I can't believe I missed that. Um, yeah, of course.
Oh, right.
No, I mean he definitely he saves the world is what I interpreted it as, and he got his code red and he got his Doritos, and now he's the hyper light drifter.
Here's the question, though. He saved the world, but then the civilization crumbled and he died. So what did he save?
That
Just help that
dimension.
stupid dog.
Anubis. Well, again, I thought this was partway through that this was like a version of purgatory or hell, so I thought putting an end to that was probably good because everyone in that world was suffering from their past in some way.
Stop the Titan from being resurrected.
That too. Not that I knew that was happening.
Yeah, we just pieced it together.
Yeah, so judging by the prolonged silence, we have no idea what's going on. So if you have a better idea of what's going on,
Tell
leave
us
it
what
in the
happened.
comments.
Yeah, what did happen? Honestly,
Please,
you know
please.
what? What happened was that the dog was his best friend growing up, and
That's
the dog wanted him to destroy the judgment. Apparently, the name of that thing.
Which was actually a crystal.
Yes.
I thought the dog was a bad guy the whole game. I thought at some point for sure we were gonna fight the dog.
I never put that together. The way I saw it was that that dog belonged to the other drifter. Because every time you saw it, it would kind of lead you towards the other drifter until
Mm.
the other drifter dies, right? So that's the way I,
yeah.
on my initial playthrough, perceived it, but I can definitely see the resemblance. It looked like Anubis, so that makes more sense now that you say that.
Well, I don't say that. The
Mhm.
internet says that. Thank you, internet. Um, I don't know how much more we're getting out of talking about this
Yeah.
story. I think
Good to close.
I think we've said what we had to say. So let's go ahead and close. Final uh, scores, thoughts on the game. Would you recommend it to a friend?
My score. Um, Closing thoughts is that this game is hard, so I'm gonna full circle it back to my hot take. But it's also very rewarding in that I feel accomplished after beating each and every one of these bosses and each and every one of the dungeons, and so that's a testament to making a rewarding experience in a video game, and that's what we do. When it's why we play video games is to have fun, and it does that. It's a fun game. It's a hard game. It's an 8 out of 10.
So I really like the world. I really like how abstract the story is. It's all up to the player's interpretation. You could like we all played this game. We all came away thinking completely different things were going on, and I think the moods in this game with the soundtrack and the visuals really unique. Like this is probably the prettiest like pixel game I've ever played, and then just thinking back to my gameplay, like I wish I would have recorded my playthrough of this too because there were a lot of really cool moments that like would be really cool in a montage or something to look back, and it was a lot of fun. Good action game, and overall the map was annoying. The navigation, some of the hidden stuff to get to the nitty gritty was annoying, but overall, really good game. I'd give it an 8.5.
So this game isn't really my cup of tea. This isn't the type of game I would naturally gravitate towards. I don't have exceptional love for pixel graphics. I can appreciate them and I can see why people think they're cool, but for me, it's just not, you know, my my default or go to for when I'm looking for a new game to play. That being said, I really liked the music. I liked the difficulty. It seemed well balanced, and every time you died, it was because you could tell there was something you did wrong. Oh, I dashed too early. I dashed in the wrong spot. I didn't do this, that, or the other. So that that's speaks to the game design, right? It's the bad games where you die because of something completely outside of your control. You always felt in control, and you could do a lot of cool things with the control you had. Um, the story, I liked it. Uh, my interpretation of it, at least. Um, And yeah, it was fun, as Gradle said. Um, but in terms of me playing it, like my enjoyment, a lot of the time I was just trying to get through whatever the next hurdle was to get to the end of this. So I didn't. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as you guys did, but I do appreciate. It's a work of art and a cool game. And the speedrunning community for this game is huge, which I always like to see for games. Really cool to go watch a speed run of this, what they can do, get outside the map and dash around. So I would give this game a 7 out of 10.
So for me, I think this game does sit in the wheelhouse of games that I would play. Because typically I do like boss gauntlet games uh, that have a level of difficulty where you're really challenged. Um, for me, I thought, and especially the beginning part of this game, I really thought that the exploration part of the game was going to be a negative for me, and somehow it's you know either slightly positive or a neutral, which is good. I will be playing this game again, boss gauntlet mode, and I'll see if I enjoy it more or less than playing the full game. But I do think that having the exploration parts, the travel between or the travel in the areas was necessary for creating the story, uh, or at least creating the environment where the player can create the story in their own head. So I did enjoy that. With that said, I think this would be a game I would recommend. I enjoyed the game length. I think I beat it in under 12 hours. Um, for as we stated earlier in the episode, some people think short games is a negative. For me, I think a short, concise, good game is a positive. So I think uh, I really enjoy that aspect of it as well. And with everything together, I think I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. So if we tally that up, we're probably sitting
Yeah.
around 8 out of 10 on Hyperlight Drifter. Um, yeah, I guess that's it. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. We've been the Giants of Backlog. Please follow us at our socials. Uh, and with our pick for the next episode is Alec.
Oh, it is my pick. Okay. So I've been getting really into the tactical strategy space, and I've been finding it very interesting, and like the nuances of those types of games, like Fire Emblem or even XCOM, and there's so many different tactics games out there. And one that's been on my backlog for a while is one that was released a while ago, and it's like just a 2D one, but it kind of pays. It's a spiritual successor to Advance Wars, which I have never played, and it's called Wargroove. So my pick is Wargroove.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
This has been on my backlog for a long time, and I think we've texted about it before.
Yeah, I think so as well. And before picking it, I was recommended it to it by my brother-in-law. And again, anyone who likes Advance Wars or tactical RPGs should tune into that one, because we'll be getting into the nitty-gritty of it for sure and talking about tactics and how smart we are.
All right, awesome. Well, we've been the Giants of Backlog. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you for Alex's episode.
Goodbye.
Bye.